Two guys either side of 50 with one dream to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Andy Walker, welcome back, and Pilgrims, welcome back to the Missing Links Golf Show. Here we are once again. Andy Walker, how are you?
I'm a little bit damp, to be honest with you, Mr. Hinks. The rain seems to be quite persistent. Not quite sure how it's going out your way. I'm sure you've had some, but yeah, here on it's not the sunny central coast of New South Wales. It's actually the wet and miserable.
It's the CCC, the cloudy Central Coast.
It hasn't. It's been a challenging week, which is going to happen from time to time. So I think it's probably a reasonable subject for tonight, just to have a bit of a chat about what's going on and the alternates sort of strategy that has been and can be implemented in these challenging conditions.
And that they are. I was unfortunate enough to spend some time during the period between 2017 and 2019 experiencing the worst drought in recorded history in central and western New South Wales.
Yeah.
Given recent times, I think it's fair to say, Andy Walker, the drought has well and truly broken because not a lot of golf has been played over the past 7 days. I think similarly to you, I was due to play in a monthly medal on Saturday, and that didn't happen. In fact, that event's been postponed to further notice at the course that I was going to play at. That was going to be down in Orange. But a lot of rain fell. And it looks like there's more to come this weekend as well. So I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of competitive golf played during this fortnight, Andy Walker. So we look for other outlets.
Yes, we do. And a similar theme. I mean, I was booked into playing the comp this week. I was looking forward after my 2 under par last week. I was looking forward to back-to-back weekly comp rounds, and I was pretty pumped actually. But yeah. The weather gods seem to have had a different strategy for my golf game at this point in time. So, yeah, I've just put some alternative strategies in place, worked on some different things, and, yeah, still feel like I've made some progress, which is good.
Well, that is good. That is good. And I don't know, how do you feel? Is that a place that we want to start? Do we want to talk about golf development during wet periods and what we've been able to get up to? Do we want to talk about resetting of goals? Some of those sorts of concepts. Where do you feel like we want to begin?
Oh, look, I think it's along a pretty similar vein, to be honest with you, because there's been some alternate strategies and wet weather practice, I think, in both high performance centres. However, I also think we've taken the opportunity of not playing to be able to reset some goals as well. So I think they really go hand in hand. So why don't we go with the golf first, and then we'll move on to new goals?
Absolutely. I think actually where I'd like to kick off, if you don't mind, Andy Walker, you did notice in the Dropbox files that there was a little audio recording.
I did notice that
I popped in there. You haven't heard it. You don't know what this is all about. But this, from my point of view, has been a bit of a dominant story of the week, and I think it's probably something worth sharing. So I did take a little bit of a recording earlier this week. And just to put a bit of background on it, after your heroics of shooting 2 under par not that long ago, I've been hitting the training mat pretty hard in an attempt to bridge the gap. And look, this recording probably results from that. So
I'm intrigued.
I know.
I'm intrigued.
It is intriguing. So anyway, enough about me. Let's go back to at the beginning of the week, me, and hear what he had to say. So strap yourself in, Andy Walker.
So just before you go, was that enough about me? Let's go to me.
That's exactly what it was. enough from now me. Let's go to sort of, what was it, 3 days ago me.
Excellent.
Yeah. So see what he had to say.
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Pilgrims, got to admit, I'm feeling a bit down at the moment. I just got out of the car after coming home from work, and my left hip has stiffened right up, or I don't know if it's lower back or hip or something in that area. Tried to swing a golf club in the high performance centre, and let's just say rotation is not really happening at the moment, so this is not a good sign. A little bit of a concern. Let's just hope it's nothing serious. Thoughts, Andy Walker?
Ooh. So I guess the question is that still the status quo, or have you sorted that out, or is it what's going on?
All good questions. The first question I think that's worth answering is, was it lower back or was it hip? Because it was difficult to tell. And I went, visited my friendly chiro to get straightened out. And every now and then you get a bit out of whack. And he took one look at me and went, ooh, hips are out of alignment. This is not ideal. But interestingly enough, let's test your anatomy knowledge here, Andy Walker. You're probably better than average, I would imagine. Have you ever heard of the sacroiliac joint?
The sacroiliac joint,
also known as the SI joint for short.
No, I have not.
Nor had I. But
that was obviously the problem.
That was the problem.
Naturally.
So, and apparently, I was not aware that this is not an uncommon golf-related stiffness or injury.
Right.
Particularly for players who may not have quite as much flexibility as they once did, and who may have been putting in too many hours with the practice net. So potentially that had something to do with it. Also, it definitely gets exacerbated by spending too much time sitting, i.e. office job.
Yeah.
And all of those sort of other issues that stem from that. Look, I have a stand-up desk as well, which I try to use a little bit, but you do end up being on your backside quite a lot of the time. That's just the nature of things. Yep. So basically the SI joint, the sacroiliac joint, without boring you with the gritty detail, but where the spine meets the pelvis, between that point and the hip joint in the actual pelvic bone, there is a joint.
Right.
Wouldn't have never thought that. Always thought it was a solid bone, but there is a joint.
Yep. Right.
And that is the issue. And that's when if you get stiffness and or pain, sort of the top of the glute, it's not quite the hips, not quite the lower back, every chance it's the SI joint, because apparently it's quite common. Yeah. So that's what that was. So good manipulation, some stretching, some heat packs, all those sorts of things. And look, I'm at the point now I could play around a golf now if the opportunity presented itself. So I'm in pretty good shape. I will be going back for another manipulation at the chiro on Friday morning, just to keep everything moving.
Did your friendly chiropractor mention anything about preventative measures, potentially?
Yes.
Fitness, stretching.
Stretching is the key.
Stretching's the key.
Stretching's the key. Exacerbated by tight muscles, which obviously happens because of, being sedentary and
specific. Specific. Is there a target area that you've got to?
Oh, there are some. There's probably about 4 or 5 particular stretching exercises to do, which is all around the lower back, glutes, hamstrings, quads. Yep. Unsurprisingly, all of those muscles that feed into that area. So, interesting experience. Quite painful. Not a big fan, but happy to say things are going in the right direction, Andy Walker. But this is the reality of a podcast about two guys in middle age trying to have a crack at the senior circuit. The thing I find the most surprising about this is that this is the first conversation that we've actually had about injury and some sort of the physical side of things. I know you had your illness at the back end of last year, but that could happen at any point.
Yeah.
But this is
that's not injury as such.
Yeah, this has been the first time that we've faced this adversity. Not that it's really adversity; it's a bit of an owie. That's about the extent of it. But
well,
anyway.
it's interesting because I do remember our conversation with David McClelland, and he said a lot of the whole seniors tour is all about injury management and keeping yourself sort of upright to be able to swing a golf club and get out there. So yeah, this is obviously the start of that long journey.
I feel like it could become a topic for further discussion on another episode, but that's about the extent that we've got there. But anyway, that was an unpleasant start to the week, particularly after getting a washout on Saturday. In fairness, I think I was starting to feel the beginnings of it on Saturday anyway, so that probably in the back of my mind was something I didn't really want to go out, even if the event was going ahead, and walk 18 holes in the pouring rain and pretty cold conditions. I don't think it would have been the most fun afternoon.
Do you feel any part of this, is anxiety due to being so far behind in the race to the Missing Links? It's the Missing Links Cup. That's what it is. The Missing Links Cup.
Yearly championship. I don't know that I would say that it's anxiety. I did think that for a little while there that it was the actual embodiment of you being an absolute pain in the butt after your round. I thought that was possibly more of a chance.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, you've started off the year pretty red hot with a big win in January.
Oh yeah.
And then it's sort of fallen in a bit of a heap.
It's not even at the halfway point, Andy Walker. And I might add this: it's not how you start; it's how you finish.
That is true. That is true.
No one ever won the yearly championship in May, unless it was like a yearly championship that started and finished in May. But this is not.
Well, you can't win it in May, but you can lose it in May.
I don't think you can. Like mathematically, I actually don't think you can.
Okay. Yeah. Oh well, you came up with a system, so
Yeah, which I now regret. Didn't really think through the fact that when you're playing off such a low handicap that you shoot one under your handicap and you have a differential of 50%. You shoot 2 under your handicap, you got 100%. That was it's poorly thought through, but I'm practicing acceptance and learning the relevant lessons, and we'll move on.
Excellent.
With our life, and it's totally fine. I'm thrilled to see you playing such good golf, Andy Walker. So that's the injury update, I think. But there's a few things going on in your world, Andy Walker. You were talking about some new additions into the Central Coast High Performance Centre.
Yeah, look, I had a little incident.
Not another one.
Another incident, yeah.
Oh, no.
Seems to be a bit of a common occurrence. But I was because I have spent a fair bit of time in the Missing Links Golf Show High Performance Centre Central Coast. It seems that the net that I've been using isn't. I mean, look, it was off eBay and it wasn't exactly a premium net. It was a golf net, and I was just hitting it straight into the net. During the week, I hit, and it was only an 8-iron I was hitting, but it actually went straight through the net, broke the string, broke the netting,
flushed it,
and ricocheted off the garage door, put a nice little dent in the garage door.
Oh no.
And made a bit of a hell of a racket. And I just went, ooh, that's not good.
It's not good. It's not ideal. You can get some really good cost-effective nets off Temu.
Yeah, look, I think that's about the same quality as eBay, to be honest with you.
Could be something to look into, Andy Walker.
So I started having a bit of a look around as to what the alternatives were because I was going, oh no, I've got to invest in another net and blah blah blah. But I found a canvas target
Nice.
on a website, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. I've never really had the target before. I know you've got a target in your net, so I thought, all right, well, I'm going to give that a crack. The good thing was they also sold putting mats, and I signed up to their newsletter, and they gave me $20 off. And I went, okay, that's pretty good. So I've bought, and it's a 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter square canvas, sort of white with black target area.
Nice.
I ordered it on the Wednesday night. It arrived on the Friday. So
perfect.
Like really great service, really, really good service. Installed that. And interestingly, now hitting into the canvas, because with the net's pretty springy. So especially when I was hitting a fairway or a driver, like it hit it into the net and it just springs straight back at you. And you've got to
catching practice.
Yeah. And that's what it felt like sometimes. But with the canvas, it actually hits and stops the momentum of the ball and just drops it straight down. So yeah, a bit of inside knowledge now that I have in that when you've got a practice net, don't just have the net, actually buy a drop sheet of some sort target, and it will actually stop the momentum of the golf ball into the net and just drop it straight down, which is now perfect. So
there's other ones that I've seen which have got like a printed image of a fairway and a hole.
Oh, right.
It's like you're standing on the tee box hitting into the fairway. Might be something to think about next time, Andy Walker.
Yeah, maybe next time. You can actually just get just a plain white canvas sheet if you forget to get a projector or something to actually when you get onto the simulated golf. So that's potentially something down the road a little bit. But yeah, no, I'm pretty happy at this stage just with the target. And now with the practice mat, a la our conversation with Michael Leonard a couple of weeks back, I've now got a practice mat to be able to practice and it's only sort of 3 meters, so it's not up to sort of 9 feet of sort of short putts, but I've been doing a little bit of work on that as well, and it's been pretty good actually. I've been pretty happy with how it's been performing.
That is good. I did see the image that you shared of that. I've busted out my mat as well once again because that was sitting dormant for a little while, and it's interesting because one of the reasons why it had been sitting dormant was because during the summer months with daylight savings, I was able to get down to the practice green a few evenings a week and actually putt on an actual green. Obviously, that is a better option if you can do it.
Yeah, for sure.
But no longer because daylight savings is finished, and that means getting home after work. It's dark. You can't really do that. So the practice mat is out again. And it's
so I do have to invest though in either a putting mirror. Or the other one is, and what Michael Leonard suggested, one of his recommendations is the Dave Pell's, and it's just it's a putting device, which it's not a mirror. It's about the same size as the mirrors, but it's got they're two sort of silver balls on the end of it, and you putt through. It's got a line, and you putt through it to make sure that your start line is actually the start line that you want to put it on. So it really helps with understanding that, okay, I've set up towards the hole, making sure the start line of my ball is actually on the line that I want to start it on.
So are those, it's a gate, I suppose, really, those two silver balls. It could be tees, it could be anything, but like, are they on the mirror? Like, are they attached to the mirror, or do you put them in front?
It's not a mirror. It looks sort of black or a dark grey, and it's got a line going down the middle of it, and it's just two like silver balls that sit on the end of it, which you putt through. And if your putt goes offline, it hits one of the balls. So obviously you know that you haven't hit the putt on your intended start line.
Sure. You'll have to take a video when you get it.
Yeah, but Michael's a pretty big fan of it. So he's got it. When he talked about it He talked about it, I think, in his audio book, and he talks about it because I've purchased the Wicked Smart Golf Academy
Mm,
program, so he talks about it in that as well.
mm. Awesome.
Yeah, which sort of leads me to sort of the next thing that I've been going through is the Wicked Smart Golf Academy, and I'm really impressed with it because I had a bit of a communication with Michael as to what because I've now got mental golf type, which I've done the level 1
Mm,
part of the program, and I had a bit of a chat to Michael and said, oh, so what's your recommendation? What should I do in what order? So he suggested I go back and review the core concepts of the mental golf type.
mm,
Then there's a second program called the consistency formula. So I've made a start on that. And then one of the programs in Wicked Smart Golf Academy is pre-shot like a pro. And it's all about systems and which, I love. And just getting some consistency through your routine when you're approaching your golf shot. So yeah, they're probably they're going to be my first 3 that I work my way through. Obviously, I've done the level 1, the core concepts previously, but I'll go back and review those and then sort of work through. I'm about sort of halfway through the consistency formula, which I'm actually really liking. And then I'll move on to pre-shot like a pro.
That sounds interesting. So, is there anything in the consistency formula that you can share without breach of copyright?
Not at this stage. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to sort of give too much away, other than saying that again, it's all about routine, and it's all about a consistent approach to your golf shot, and making sure that not only physically have you got a pretty strong pre-shot routine, but also mentally you've got a strong pre-shot routine. So it's looking at what your mental golf type is and applying that mental golf type to your pre-shot routine.
So let me get this straight. Are you suggesting that if you would like to get consistent outcomes, that you should have relatively consistent inputs?
Look, I know it comes as a surprise, but yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm a bit of a fan at this stage of and look, certainly Wicked Smart Golf. There's the Wicked Smart Golf Academy. There's a whole range of programs within the academy that you get when you subscribe to the academy. So he goes through putting, he goes through short game, he goes through strategy on the golf course. So yeah, I mean, Michael's put through a really comprehensive program in the academy, so that's really good. And the other thing I've tried a little bit of, which I think you'll find quite interesting, back to mental golf type, is a couple of John Weir's meditation.
Yes, I was hoping
sessions.
you were going to say that.
So they're only
So good.
16 to 18 minutes.
That's a long
but
time.
I've been through a couple of them. Well, the guided meditation doesn't, like, you're not sitting there in silence. It's a guided meditation. So he's actually talking, guiding you through the meditation session. And look, it's growing on me. Like, after the first one, I was sitting down going, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I got through the end of it and thought it was better than I thought. And then the second time I went through it, I sort of went, actually, I reckon there's something to this. So I'm gonna keep going with it and just pushing myself. Probably won't be every day, but maybe 3 or 4 times a week, because he's got 4 different guided meditations. So 4 times a week, just to go through one of these guided meditations, and he's got a bit of a structure as to how you do it, and there's a couple of different approaches that he recommends. So yeah, I'm going to go through these a number of times and just see what comes out the other side.
Pilgrims, you won't be able to see this because obviously it's an audio podcast until such time as we do get this up on the YouTube channel. story for another day. But I was going to mention at the beginning of this episode, Andy Walker, that you are looking particularly relaxed and calm. So that explains it.
Yeah. Well, I do feel, and this has sort of been, a bit of a sort of theme over the last month, and probably a fair bit to do with why I'm scoring better than what I sort of was earlier in the year and late last year.
It's meditation. Is that what you're saying? It's all meditation.
Well, it's not meditation. It's focus on the mental game.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I'm spending more time playing and practicing, and certainly the high performance center has, like, my swing consistency has improved out of sight just through spending a little bit of time each day hitting balls into the net. And it's not just going in there and belting balls. It is that directed, deliberate practice. And I really try and focus on what I'm doing, and I've got my tripod set up, and I've got my iPhone recording, every third or fourth swing, and then I'll sit down and have a look at it and do a bit of analysis and all the rest. So it's deliberate practice. It's not just belting balls into the net. And I just feel as though that, it's having an impact. And then when I'm shooting a good score, what I'm learning through, whether it be Josh Nichols actually you sort of go back that further to Neil, what we talked about with Neil, and then talked about with Josh Nichols, then we talked about with Michael last week, what I'm learning with Mental Golf Type. It's all seems to be coming together to, developing this, I guess, attitude and focus on playing good golf and understanding what I'm meant to be doing to be able to play good golf. So it's been an interesting, very interesting pilgrimage.
Oh, look, I think that's absolutely right. And I think, I was reflecting on this a little bit earlier today in the car doing one of my many commutes halfway across New South Wales, and listening to a few of the episodes and listening to some other podcasts from some other people talking about it. And the thought really struck me of if we were to go back to the beginning of this show and talk to those two guys back then and, kind of have a conversation about our approach now versus our approach then, it's chalk and cheese, like the amount of lessons that have been learned in a relatively short time. And as a result of that, I think we've talked about this a few times, just the level of understanding and thought that now we can apply to a round of golf versus, when I think back to the sort of golf that I was playing 6 months ago, it's vastly different. And the other thing that I noticed as well, which when I was thinking about it, no longer am I having those emotional fluctuations during a round of getting, way too excited and then way too down. In particular, the getting way too down, things that you carry for a few holes and really starts to bring things undone. As a result of that, I'm no longer having the blow up holes that I used to regularly have. I even look at the last round, my worst, I had one double bogey. That was the worst hole of the round. And that, even to be perfectly honest, shouldn't have been a double. I hit a couple of poor shots around the green, and I missed it. I actually missed a putt that was about a sort of a 2.5 footer, because as I was taking the putter back, it got stuck in one of the ruts of the scarification of the green. And I should have aborted, but I just pushed through because it was a short putt and I pulled it. So it shouldn't have been a double, but it was by no means a blow up hole. But just that stability that I now feel, which never used to happen, it's just amazing. And I wish I knew, way earlier how much we've learned in the last few months. But obviously you can't go backwards, you can only go forwards. But it really has been, a huge amount of value. And that's only the mental side of it. That's got nothing to do with any of the physical gains. And having, I can't speak highly enough for having an avenue to just hit some balls with purpose, like you say, but repetitively. If you can hit some golf balls every day or every other day, even if it's only half a dozen, just to keep things grooved in,
Yeah.
you find you start finding the center of the face so much more regularly than what you do what you would do without that. So I think there's a massive
Well,
amount of
it's,
that.
yeah. And since what I'm actually got planned over the next couple of months, because I'm still going through Ben Hogan's book, his 5 lessons, which I'm finding really interesting. But one of the first books that I think we talked about, and one of the first books I listened to was John Sherman's Four Foundations of Golf, and that had a pretty big impact. However, that was sort of at the start. I'm actually keen to go back and listen to that, and I've got it on audiobook. I'll listen to the audiobook again, just to listen to it through a different lens, because I definitely do have a different lens, given how far we've come, and just to see if there's something different in there that I hear that I just wasn't aware of 6 months ago.
Absolutely, I think you will. I was chatting about this particular book with another one of the pilgrims a couple of weeks ago, who was reading it for the first time after hearing us talking about it on a regular basis. It was an interesting conversation because he was early on in the book, but the major thing that he actually was taking out of it was the adjustment of expectations.
Yep.
Now that it's an important topic, but it's funny because the biggest thing that I think that I now appreciate of it is actually more the acceptance phase rather than the setting of the expectations in the first place. And I'll take that one step further. It's not just acceptance after the shot, but it's actually acceptance of outcomes before you hit the shot.
Yeah.
So it's I think the expectations element plays in there because you've got to be honest about what expectations you could hold from any shot. And that's, you know, Sherman talks about that kind of dispersion range and, you know, how you adjust that for your target for where hazards are and various things are. But it's also like, yes, you set those expectations. You go, I know with a driver, maybe it could be, you know, 30 yards left, 30 yards right. So I've got to adjust that dispersion pattern to account for it. But it's also accepting that could still happen when you step up to the tee before you hit the shot, so that you don't have to go through that process necessarily after you hit the shot. And that doesn't mean that you have low expectations of yourself to go, oh, I'm not going to hit the green. You're still obviously intending to do that, believing that you can, but also understanding that you might not. And there's no point investing in the negative emotion when you don't, that it's an outcome. And you accept it and you move on.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm keen to read again, and this is a discussion that we had a couple of weeks ago, because he's very focused on the swing and the strokes gained approach from getting your long game up to standard over short game and putting. And obviously David McClellan is very much short game, short game, short game. Michael Leonard's all around short game and putting. He's sort of mainly sort of three areas: a driver, making sure that you drive the ball well, then having a great short game and putting game. So they're his three keys, which sort of, you know, is a little bit different to the way John Sherman approaches it. So I'm going to go into it with a bit of an open mindset and just read what he's got to say again, or listen, because it's the audiobook, or listen to what he's got to say again, and just to put some thought into it, because I'm not convinced. I'm very much, and I think Neil was the one who said it. Was it Neil or was it Dr. Bob Rotella that said it in his book? Is that the swinging it in your long game and ball striking is more important when you're beginning and at the start of your golfing journey.
Dr. Bob.
The better you become, the more important short game and putting is. And that makes a lot of sense to me. You know, logically that makes a lot more sense in that, yes, you've got to know how to ball strike to be able to get to be a good golfer, get to be a single figure handicapper. But you get down, especially low single figures and scratch. What separates a scratch player from a +2 or +3? Is it ball striking, or is that where you're putting and your short game really comes into the fore?
And this is a really interesting topic, Andy Walker. Thank you for raising it.
Yeah, well, as I said, we had a massive discussion around this, quoting PGA Tour stats.
We did, and
which was quite an interesting discussion, because you're very much along the ball striking line. But as we've discussed, the better your ball striking, the worse your putting stats are going to be.
That is quite possible. Don't pigeonhole me into a position, because, as you know,
That's exactly what I'm doing.
I can take any position and argue it successfully. That's a strength. There's a couple of things, though, that I would say, and I do agree with the statement that you made about the better that you become as a golfer and the lower your scores become. So the closer to scratch you become, the more important the short game becomes. And I've done a little bit of thinking about why that might be the case, and I've come up with a very loose and wobbly theory, but I want to run it by you and see what you think. So
is this sort of like the goals that we went through a few months ago that Ted from Mollymook had a massive crack at for not actually writing it down? So is it as loose as that?
Well, I haven't written it down, and I would like to put out a disclaimer to Ted from Mollymook to say, strap yourself in, Ted. I'm about to start pussyfooting around.
Excellent.
So no, but it's this. Let's say you're a scratch golfer, and you generally speaking, you're shooting around sort of low 70s, 72, 73, 70, that sort of thing as an average. And you have got around about, when you include chipping and putting on an average round of golf, you're probably going to have 36-ish chips and putts around the green. Okay. That's 50% of your shots. 50% of your shots. Now let's compare that to someone who's, just because the maths is easier, shooting about 120. They're probably, to be honest, they're probably going to have about 40 shots around the green, chipping and putting. That is about 33% of their game. So as a percentage of your game, the better you get, the higher percentage of your game shots around the green become. Therefore, the more important it becomes.
Yeah.
So that supports your argument.
Yeah, and that logically makes sense to me. So yeah, you need to, if you're shooting 120, you need to be.
You're not getting it anywhere near the green in regulation if you're shooting 120.
You need to be able to get it from the tee to the green in a relatively or in a more consistent manner.
Yeah. Because as we've talked about previously, there's no way in the world that someone is shooting 120 because they're shooting, 40 shots tee to green and 80 around the green. Like that split just does not. I'm sure there's someone out there that's managed to do it, but far out. You'd hate to be in their four ball. But
coming back to Bob Rotella, and we discussed this before as well, is that one of the keys that the concepts that he talked about is that even the best ball strikers of all time, and he's talking about the likes of Ben Hogan and Lee Trevino and these Tiger Woods, at their best, they were still only hitting 13 greens on average in regulation. So there comes a point where you're about as good as what you can be. And history has proven that you can't really get much better than that at about sort of 13 greens in regulation. So then what separates, the guys who are able to hit, somewhere between 12 and 13 greens in regulation, which is pretty high. You'll be pretty high on the ball striking stats if you're somewhere in the high 12s on the PGA Tour. Then it comes back to short game and putting and who can get the ball in the hole. And I think we discussed Scotty Scheffler and that he's been number one now for a number of years. Maybe 2 years. He's been consistently number one for, I think they were saying 89 weeks or 90 weeks or something it is at the moment.
It's it's a long time.
But since he's been able to improve his putting and get his putting working really well, he's been almost unbeatable.
Yeah. See, yes and no, right? And this is the point where I do disagree with the theory, okay? Because if at that level that it comes down to short game and it comes down to putting, then the people that lead the money list or the rankings or whatever you want to call it on the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour, would be the best short game proponents, the best putters. And that's just not the case. What absolutely correlates, and I'm just pulling up the messaging that we had before. What correlates on PGA Tour is ball striking. And so here are some of the stats with PGA. And I know that your complaint to this was that it was a small data set, but it actually, if you go through the links that I also said, it stacks up throughout pretty much the list of ball strikers versus rankings. The number one player, strokes gained, tee to green on the PGA Tour this year is Scotty Scheffler. He has improved his putting, granted, but he is number 93 with the flat stick on the PGA Tour.
But what? Because there are various metrics with putting. What specific metric?
Strokes gained. That's strokes gained.
Okay, because I saw somewhere that he was about number 5 in overall putting, as in putts per green. I think he was like 1.6 something putts per green.
Yeah, because his ball striking is sticking it to about 3 feet half the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So then the number one putter on the PGA Tour, Taylor Montgomery, is sitting 156th tee to green. All right. So your number one putter and your number one ball striker. Now, Scotty, number one ball striker, number 93 putter, he's ranked number one. Okay, well, we know that. Taylor Montgomery, number one putter, he's ranked 156th tee to green. He's ranked 76th on tour at the moment, overall ranking. The number 2 putter, Aaron Baddeley, is ranked 113th. So, like, I get the point, and I agree with the point, broadly speaking, that as your game improves, the short game becomes more important. But the data is still saying that the guys that separate themselves in professional level golf, they do it because they strike the absolute eyes out of it consistently. It's not because they putt it better.
See, I don't necessarily agree with that either, because I think that if you're taking someone who is like 160 something ball striking, in order for them to stay on tour, they've got to have a great short game and be able to scramble and get it in.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? Someone who stripes it down the fairway and onto the green, they still may have a great short game. They're still going to be a great putter. And if you put, so say for instance, if you put, Aaron Baddeley's ball striking and made Scotty Scheffler putt from the same areas,
they're playing
very different games. But what would
they're playing Corn Ferry is what they're doing.
What would that be from a strokes gain perspective in putting? What would Scotty Scheffler be able to achieve with Aaron Baddeley's ball striking?
I don't know. know.
Do you understand my point?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I do.
Say. So I don't necessarily think that the best ball strikers are obviously on top as well, but they've got the full game. Right. So I don't think their putting is any worse. Their putting stats are worse because they're such good ball strikers. But
and by the way, Pilgrims, what Andy Walker means when he says that is because they're hitting so many greens, they're going to have more first putts from further away.
Exactly.
Which
So to me, it's not that Scotty Scheffler is a worse putter than Aaron Baddeley. It's that the stats, because Scotty Scheffler is such a great ball striker, his putting stats are worse than Aaron Baddeley, but it's as a result of the ball striking, not as a result of him being a worse putter.
Potentially true. Probably a question we'll never know the answer to because they're never going to be starting from the same places. No, but this much we do know is that he is a better ball striker.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And he's markedly a better ball striker.
Yeah,
and
you're talking to someone who loves ball striking. Like I love being.
I know, and that's why I'm surprised that we're on this side of the fence. There's a couple of other stats that I do want to throw in there because I added them as well after you were criticising the smallness of my data set. Is that the number 2 player at the point when we did this, which was a couple of weeks ago, and the number 2 player tee to green this year on the PGA Tour strokes gained was Hideki Matsuyama, who was currently at that point sitting 6th on the FedEx Cup list. The person that was number 3 tee to green, favourite of yours, Andy Walker, was Xander Schauffele, who was number 3 on the FedEx list. There was nobody that was sitting right up there in the top 10 on the ball striking strokes gain list tee to green. There was none of them that were markedly lower on the FedEx Cup list, yet there was the majority of the guys that were right up there on the putting strokes gain list were nowhere to be seen on the FedEx Cup list. Like, to me, that it's not saying that putting doesn't matter, but it's saying that ball striking is what separates the good from the great.
Yeah, look, and I don't disagree that ball striking does separate the good from the great. I don't disagree with that at all. What I'm saying is that, you know, the putting stats, I think short game and putting is equally as important as ball striking.
Well, they count for the same.
Okay, and that's to me, and again, I want to go back and listen to what John Sherman says, but to me, that's not what John Sherman is saying.
He may be taking a slightly extreme view of it. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get John on the show at some point this year.
I'd love to have this discussion with him on the show.
It'd be amazing. He's a busy man at the moment with all the things going on in his world. But other people that'd be worth talking to as well is Scott Fawcett from Decade and Mark Brody, the inventor of the strokes gained metric. So.
Interestingly, I do, because I haven't read Mark Brody's book, and that's another book that I've certainly got marked as to be read on my list, because I would love to understand firstly what Mark Brody's got to say about strokes gained and how and what his view of that concept is. So then I can have a better understanding of what John Sherman is saying. But I think with everything, and you know, any sort of data set, any sort of statistics, I don't think you can look at them on a top line summary level. And you know,
it's what I do for a living. Just look at statistics on a top line summary level.
Yeah, I think you need to dive a little bit deeper than that to understand what's going on, and that's what I do for a living.
Give me the executive summary every day of the week, Andy Walker. That's all I want. Yeah.
So yeah, and look, that's the analyst in me. That wants to understand. Yeah. And I look at numbers and I look at that data set and I go, okay, well that's great. You know, it's helpful, but what stands behind the numbers? What's the information behind the numbers, and trying to read between the lines and really understanding what's going on in a particular situation. And I don't necessarily believe that, you know, it's all ball striking and that's the whole reason why these guys are at the top. I think that they've got an incredibly well-rounded game.
Of course they do.
Where they're putting, even though they might not be at the top from a stats perspective, they're still equally as good as what the bottom, the guys at the top are. It's just that obviously the stats are skewed in a particular way.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think one of the things that's not in that data set that I read out there is Scotty Scheffler's proficiency around the greens, not necessarily putting, but with his wedges around the greens. And
he's incredible.
He's excellent
with his wedges, yeah.
And that definitely helps. But, you know, It's a big topic. It's one that I know that we enjoy debating, and everyone's got a view.
Hotly debate.
Yeah, but I know, historically, if we were doing this podcast 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it wouldn't even be a discussion because it would just be the accepted wisdom that, as Dave McClellan says, that short game, short game, short game. The difference now is the data that's available, people actually breaking things down. And you talked about some of the other great players of the past. Sacrilege, I'm going to say Tiger Woods, great player of the past, but it's a reality.
Second best golfer of all time.
Yeah, and statistically, you'd have to agree. Jack, Ben Hogan, probably going back, talking about people like Sam Snead, etc. They're all fantastic ball strikers.
Well, interestingly, because I've also read a little bit about Lee Trevino, and Lee Trevino apparently was just incredible with his ball striking, like one of the best and quite underrated in the context of history and great ball strikers. But apparently Lee Trevino was just incredible. He just striped it all the time.
Freddie Couples would be another that you'd throw in there. Smoked it. So I don't know. I think there's something in it. Like, you got to get it in the hole at the end. And obviously, if you go out Happy Gilmore style and smoke at 400 but can't putt unless you've got a hockey stick, then there's going to be problems. But, I feel like there's a lot of evidence. And what was interesting is when I went into the PGA Tour stats, I was trying to do the right thing and I was trying to debunk my view and I was trying to find the evidence that would support that short game proficiency over ball striking. I could not make a case for it based on the data.
No, and I at no stage would I ever subscribe that one is more important than the other. But that's just it. I don't think one is more important than the other.
Yeah, but if you had to choose, Andy Walker, it's ball striking.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to put a bit more thought into that because I don't necessarily agree with that because having been a pretty good ball striker and a pretty ordinary short game and putter 25 years ago, I can tell you that doesn't get you too far either.
But maybe that's because your short game was worse than you thought and your ball striking wasn't quite as good as you thought.
No. If you and again, you can validate that with my good mate Scotty Fisher. In that my ball striking was definitely tour standard ball striking. My short game and putting was about C grade.
It's not. And that's the thing. Like
it was awful.
It can't be a detriment. Like it's got to be good enough.
Yeah, it's
just not going to separate you.
Yeah. See, I don't. In order to get to the top. That top level, I don't think it can't be just good enough. It needs to be at the same level as your ball striking.
I feel like we've got to move on from this argument.
How long we got?
around about that long. Because there's a fair bit to talk about beyond that as well. So you talked about Ben Hogan's 5 lessons. I'm curious to know what these particular phrases have got to do with each other. 25-degree angle, belt buckle, and big toe.
Yep. So one of the chapters in his 5 lessons, or one of the lessons, which is the chapter, is the fundamentals. So what he's talking about is your stance, and what in particular your front foot. He said should be so you're obviously with your 2 feet being square. Your front foot should be flared out at a 25-degree angle.
25-degree angle. Okay.
Yeah. So obviously 90 degrees is pointing directly towards your target line.
Yep.
45 degrees halfway in between. Well, he's talking about 25 degrees. And the reason
pretty specific.
Yeah. Well, he's very, very specific in just about all areas of his game. and what he talks about. But what he's saying is that having your front foot flared out 25 degrees will actually prevent your hips from turning too far on the backswing. Now, what he says is the ideal hip turn is when your belt buckle is pointing towards your big toe on your back foot.
It's not very far.
No, it's not. It's not. But that's where he talks about, he doesn't say it like this, but lack of a better term, coil. And the coil of your, sort of like a spring, you've got your shoulders, which turn a lot more than what your hips do. And that coil, that spring loading, is what's going to create speed on your downswing.
So I've also heard something similar on this, that the threshold for, sort of tour level players is to have thoracic flexibility where they can turn their shoulder plane at least 45 degrees more than their hips. And some tour players,
potentially,
tour players will get up to 70%.
Yeah, right.
But if you're not getting to 45%, you're not going to be able to make the moves of a high quality golf swing.
Yeah,
and generate club head speed.
That without sort of looking at it more closely, that makes a lot of sense because that spring loading of not turning your hips too far but having a big shoulder turn. That spring loading is definitely part of the fundamentals of getting really good club head speed through the downswing and through impact. Definitely. Okay. So the other thing there that you'll see, the point below that line, which I'm struggling with a little bit, is that he says that Ben Hogan says that you should have your left elbow pointing to your left hip and your right elbow pointing to your right hip.
When?
Now, at address. Now, and he said, and he also talks about having your elbows as close as possible.
At address.
Yeah, at address, which I find really uncomfortable. But he talks about then that gives you the best opportunity for your hands and your arms to work as one unit on your backswing.
I wonder if that's about stopping it whipping inside.
Potentially, because I have tried it a couple of times and I find it really uncomfortable. And if you look at the address position of like Tiger Woods and Adam Scott, they're not in that position. So I think that's a very specific Ben Hogan fundamental rather than something that's part of the modern game. I haven't looked at Jack Nicklaus or any of those guys, but I looked at Tiger Woods and I looked at Adam Scott and I went, yeah, it's not what they do. So that might be one just to put in the bottom drawer and not necessarily implement into my game. But I do quite like the front foot at 25 degrees. I've been playing around with that because I found that my front foot was probably a little bit too square. So I have been, it also allows you to clear your hips a little bit more through the downswing. So been playing around with just flaring out the front foot a little bit more. And yeah, that seems to be going all right. So
Alex Noren style.
Yeah. Similar.
Or Ryan Fox. There's mine a bit of that gear as well.
Yeah.
Food for thought. So, I don't reckon I'm going to stand over the ball going 25 degrees, belt buckle pointing to toe, left elbow at left hip, right elbow at right. That's a recipe for disaster.
No. And look, I don't think in any way, shape, or form Ben Hogan is meant that to be your key swing thoughts over the ball.
The mental checklist at the top of your swing.
I think the amount of time that he spent on the practice fairway, they were well and truly ingrained in his swing before he ever stood on the first tee on a golf course.
Yeah, you'd hope so. And then just think of the target. Yep. Very good. Very good, Andy Walker.
So yeah, so in a quiet golf week, there still seems to be a lot going on, and we haven't really even gone to down the line of updated goals.
No, we haven't. We haven't. And I would like to go there. And just before we do, though, I had a little bit of a look. I'm not going to go through this in the nitty-gritty detail, but I think it tells an incredibly interesting story. And it certainly gives me some food for thought for the future. I had a bit of a look at my strokes gained statistics via ShotScope over my last 5 rounds when compared to my performances per year dating back to 2020.
Okay, so 4 years ago, yeah.
Yep. So top line, in my last 5 rounds, actually, I'll save that for last. Going back in time to 2020.
Yeah.
It's a better way of telling the story. Going back in time to 2020, which is when I was slapping it round as a mid to late teen handicapper, which I had been for a long, long time. And at that point, my total strokes gained against a scratch handicapper was at minus 15.79 strokes.
I suspect it's better than that over the last 5 rounds, which is why you've left that till second.
It is. But what's been interesting has been the progression over the years. So that was 2020. 2021, it was minus 13.29, so I dropped by 2.5.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
2022 was at minus 10.3, so it dropped by 3 shots. 2023, it was minus 8.96, so dropped another couple of shots there. And over the last 5 rounds in 2024, it is at minus 5.58, so it's dropped another 3
nice
from the previous year. So all up since 2020, and we're not even at the end of 2024 yet, so we're still early on. So it's kind of 3 and a bit years really. It's come down by a bit over 10 shots.
So was that around the time that you had the conversation with your dashingly handsome PE teacher?
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
So was it actually your conversation with him that's started this whole improvement in your game rather than, because we've given a lot of credit to the podcast over the last 6 months, but you go back 4 years and there seems to be a lot of improvement prior to that.
There has been. And what's interesting about it is that, yes, that was the catalyst. Absolutely, that was the catalyst. And I'm absolutely happy to admit that. I've told that to his face. And what it was, though, it was a mindset shift. And that's the first step in the process, is saying, I'm not going to identify as this guy that goes out and does this and plays the same way week in, week out all the time. I'm actually going to shed the fixed mindset, take a growth mindset approach, think about improving, think about how I can improve, some things I can do to improve, recalibrate the mindset. And that led to things. Now, obviously, that would have gotten so far and stagnated again if there weren't consistent efforts. So there's been a variety of things in there. So one of those other things has been playing more golf. One of those things has been learning more about the game. Another one of those things has been developing the mental side of the game through, reading a wide variety of books on the topic, having conversations with people. Another one of those things has been getting a club fitting, which is another topic that, we obviously need to dive into in more depth at another occasion. And then really the push into getting down into single digits has been a lot of the things we've talked about on this show, and certainly refining a lot of the understanding of the mental side of the game through the conversations and the guests that we've had on this show has been another massive part of it. So there's many, many aspects. Some may refer to them collectively as the missing links to better golf. But they're all important. I think they're all necessary. But the first thing, which was that conversation, and hopefully for the pilgrims, it's actually this podcast, is saying you can be better.
Yep.
And there's ways of doing it. And there's ways of doing it that is low hanging fruit, and then there's other things that's really complicated and really hard and take time.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think in my own game, because I haven't been, I've only been doing Arcos and the strokes gain, since a little bit before we started the podcast. But I look back at my handicap index, and over the last 5 years, up until we started the podcast, it was definitely going the wrong way. 5 years ago, I was playing off 2.8, and it slowly went to 3, then 3.5, then 4. And I think when we started the podcast, it was like 4.7, and definitely on heading towards 5 and above.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about meeting in the middle.
Exactly. That the velocity of my game definitely wasn't heading in the right direction. So for me, it's been a bit more recent than that, and certainly the start of the podcast and the accountability that's had for me, and setting the goals and having golf as a priority in my life is certainly that's been the catalyst of the turnaround in my game, without doubt.
Oh, absolutely. And the first step is that simple. It's deciding that you're taking that first step and making it important and focusing on it. And a lot of things flow from that. You'll spend time thinking about it. You'll spend time doing a bit of research. You'll spend some time practicing. You'll spend a bit more time playing. And when you are playing, you'll be a bit more present with your playing. There's all sorts of those elements that factor in. The thing I take as really interesting when I look at those numbers, that every step of the way, I've had that thought that I think I talked about in episode 1, 2, or 3 of, is this as good as it's going to get? Have I hit the personal ceiling, for my potential? And every step of the way, each year that's happened, I think I've had those feelings and I've had those thoughts. But what this has shown, when I go back and take that broader view, which I like to do, is that the improvement has been consistent. Now, it won't necessarily always be 2 or 3 shots every year, because that's
if it is, then in a couple of years' time,
I know. So
you're on tour.
Yeah. So I'm not expecting that to happen, but what I am sort of heartened by looking at that is that it doesn't appear that necessarily needs to be a ceiling, and there's no reason why now it can't continue to improve in the next few years. So speaking of which, that's a mindset shift for me.
Yeah. So speaking of which, then what are the updated goals? Because we did talk about at the start that we've both updated our goals. So what are they for yourself?
Yeah. So I've split them into outcome goals and process goals. Because that's one of the lessons that we've learned this year. It's good to have both, but you can't always control the outcomes. You can control the process. So trying to split things out in that way is important. So my outcome goals, and I've put this with a deadline, and I've written it down. It's specific, it's measurable. I feel it's achievable. It's realistic. It's got a deadline, so it's time bound. So
yep.
Ted from Mollymook, there's no pussyfooting around, okay? And that is to get my handicap below 6, so to be 5 point something or better by February of 2025. I've chosen that date deliberately, and that date's because that's when my eligibility into the seniors tournaments commences. So there's that. Another personal goal as a milestone is to break 75 in a competition round at some time this year.
Nice.
That's that's a challenge, but that's definitely a goal, something I'd like, a personal achievement I'd like to get. I want to keep my putting stats positive from a strokes gain perspective against a scratch handicapper, and then the rest of the strokes gain ones is approaches to be -2 or better, tee shots -1.5 or better, short game -1 or better. Interestingly, when my strokes gained was out at 15.79, approaches were at -8.44. So that was really where it was at. Anyway, process goals, ball striking goals, I nearly said. Process goals is to maintain 95% or above mental scorecard results in all rounds.
Yep.
So that's staying in the fight regardless and going through the process for every shot. For a training perspective, having 2 ball striking sessions per week, that might be on the course, that might be in the high performance center, probably more likely in winter in the high performance center. Having minimum one putting session per week in an outdoor session, it's going to be a struggle. But even if I can nip out just for 15, 20 minutes on the way home or something like that and just do a little bit of work just to keep things rolling on the green, because there is a difference. To have 1 short game session per week, I'm still trying to figure out how to do that without daylight. To have 1 indoor practice putting technique session per week, and that's working on those sort of 3 to 6 footers.
Yep.
To do 3 strength and conditioning sessions per week, and to do a daily meditation session, even if it's just up to 5 minutes. And I've been good on that. Yep. I'm doing that in the mornings before I get out of bed as soon as I wake up, or I'm doing it last thing at night before I go to sleep. Actually really enjoying it too, which is unexpected. Nice. That's where I'm at.
Okay. And do you feel as though that's all achievable, that you've now sort of got that in obviously in the goals and in the schedules? So do you feel as though that's something that's achievable and you'll stick to it?
I do. The challenge is going to be the outdoor short game putting sessions per week. I have to get a bit creative around that.
Yep.
And that's just a daylight issue.
Yeah.
I've got a plan for it though, but I need to be able to try and pull it off, which is, bit of a challenge at the moment, just from a time perspective. But I think everything else is absolutely achievable. The outcome goals will take care of themselves in due course. And look, one of the lessons that I learned in that is to not try and, and this is what I felt when I was trying to get from 10 to 9 on the handicap scale. I was desperate to do it, and I was thinking about it all wrong, because I wanted to be the handicap because that would make me feel like I was a better player, rather than wanting to be a better player because then I would have a better handicap. And that once I made that mental shift, it actually it fell into place much better.
Do you have any tournament goals?
Not that I've written down. I'm pussyfooting around on that one.
Yeah, because I think that's also important. I mean, you've had a bit of a taste of it in the Macquarie Cup.
Yeah.
And I felt like you enjoyed that.
I loved it. It was so good.
Yeah, getting down in the dirt and really sort of, grinding out that tournament golf environment. So, getting more of that, I think, will certainly serve you well.
I would love to do that. We need to lock in a few dates on the calendar, actually, is probably the main one. Yeah. But absolutely, I would love to do that. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yourself, what do you got?
Okay, so I've got a couple of outcome goals as well. So mine doesn't. I was going to put in a handicap goal, but I decided not to. My outcome goal is around strokes gained, and I thought about maybe changing. I know we had this conversation as well, whether I change the strokes gained comparison to what my goal is, or whether I just leave it at scratch. And I've decided to leave it at scratch and just have a positive strokes gained. So I want to get to a strokes gained of 2 shots per round for compared to a scratch handicap. Now, what I'd be really happy with is something pretty consistent across the driving, approach play, short game, and putting. So if I can achieve 0.5 in each of those areas to make my game consistent across the 4 areas to end up being 2, then I'd be pretty happy with that. And this is by December 31st, 2024. So this is this calendar year, right? So my process. So that's really the main outcome focused goal that I have. I do have the I guess the stretch goal of qualifying for the New South Wales Senior Open, first weekend in November. I still think that's a bit of a long shot. Not impossible, but again, I've got some, a bit of a strategy behind that. But that's sort of it's not my primary goal. My primary goal is still sort of more long term focus than that. And if I qualify, fantastic. That's great. But if I don't, well, that's it is what it is. I guess. So from a process,
Andy Walker, acceptance.
yeah. So from a process perspective, what I've got in my goals is I want to play in 2 competition rounds per month at my home club. So that'll be probably every second Tuesday. On the alternate weeks when I'm not playing the comp, I'm going to have a wedge play, short game, and practice putting session. Every Saturday afternoon, I'm going to have a wedge play, short game, and practice putting sessions. So basically, it's like 1.5 practice sessions per week with wedge play, short game, and putting. 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, is going to be my 30-minute swing session in the High Performance Centre.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty keen to do that around midday, depending on client work. I can be a little bit more flexible with it, but I want a 30-minute session 4 days a week with the swing session. I want to have an additional putting session if I can sort of sneak onto and this is a grass on the practice putting green. This is before I go pick up the kids. I'd love to be able to sneak out there on one day, sort of 30 minutes, and be able to practice my putting. And have 2 stack sessions per week. So
that's interesting.
I feel it's important for me to build up my swing speed. So they're the golf related or the physical golf related goals that I have. I do want to keep up with my 3 resistance training and cross training sessions to keep up the physical strength and physical fitness. In regards to the mental game, 4 days a week, I want to go through John Weir's guided meditation. So that's sort of 15 or 16 to 18 minutes, 4 times a week. Complete mental golf type, self-communication of champions. So that's an additional program that's in the mental golf type.
Self-communication of champions.
Self-communication of champions.
Sounds great.
And then complete the whole Wicked Smart Academy modules. So go through the whole program. So if I can go through those things, then I think my game's going to be in a pretty good position. So there's a lot there. However, I'm pretty confident. I've got it all sort of scheduled in, and I've got my plan and how I'm going to allocate the time to be able to do it. So I'm pretty confident that, I'll be able to get that done.
It's exciting.
Yeah. I'll also have to fit some work in around that, and some time with family and time with the wife. And
apparently juggling life and golf is something that you're pretty good at. So
that's up my alley.
Yeah, you'll be right.
Yeah. No, nothing a bit of planning in the calendar won't fix.
So they say, or some random anecdotes, perhaps. Anyhow, that's good. Good. That's very good. There's a lot. There's a huge amount.
Yeah.
Question is, so, can we do it?
Well, look, I feel as though I'm, even over the past month probably a couple of months, I haven't been far away from it.
Yep.
There's obviously things that come up, and while that, what I've got down is that's the ideal. I'm probably not going to stick to that 100% because life happens. Like this week, for instance, it rained, course is closed.
Yeah, and you can't.
It's been closed all week.
You can't.
And
you
that
can't do anything about that.
Yeah, that includes the short game, chipping and putting green. That's everything. The whole course is closed. I can't physically get out and do a short game session because it's underwater. Well, it's not underwater, but it's closed. So
yep.
So there's going to be weeks like that where I've got to, accept that it's the schedule is not going to happen. But for the 80% of the time, I reckon I'm a pretty decent chance.
You can do it. I think that's also one of the lessons, though, is not overcooking your planning, because you put too much in. I feel that I was guilty of this the first time around when we did this in episode 3. And I think I stacked up everything. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And you can't. So let's, I suppose that's the being realistic part of appropriate goal setting. It's got to be achievable. It's got to be realistic. It's got to be challenging. It's got to be a bit of a stretch, and it's got to make a difference. There's no point saying, I'm going to commit to doing 1 5-minute training session a week and expecting to improve. It's got to be fit for purpose, but at the same time, it's got to be achievable. Otherwise, if you overload it and you can't keep up with it, and then that's when the motivation drops off as well, because you feel that you're failing. So that's probably important to just make sure that it is achievable, and to know that there's certain things, maybe there's certain core things that are non-negotiable that have to be done, and then there's other things that actually, if time doesn't permit, that's the bit that you might drop, but the other bits, you won't. So I don't know. I haven't thought that through, but that's something I'm interested in Ted's views on. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm as we've discussed before, I mean, I'm a pretty big planner, so the more structured my planning is, the better I seem to perform, and the more I seem to be able to get done. That's not how you work, and I understand that you're a little bit sort of different to that, in that you need a bit more flexibility in your schedule. But I'm very structured, and that's my golf game as well. My golf game is very structured, but that's what works for me. That's my mental golf type, man. And it's not just it's not my mental golf type just for golf. It's my mental golf type for life.
It's your personality type. I think it's not that, like, I do appreciate a good structure and a good plan, don't get me wrong, but I feel that whether it's personality type, I think it plays into it a little bit, whether it's role, whether it's other factors, other moving parts, I feel I do get probably impacted a little bit more by the unforeseen things that come at me, and there's less things that are specifically controllable. That's because partly I don't work for myself. I work for someone else. If I was working for myself, I feel like I could probably control a lot of those things a little bit more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know I do enjoy the spontaneity. And so that is a difference as well. Like I like to have a certain amount of reactionary stuff that's going on, so it keeps things exciting. So whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, and look, I've got a reasonable amount of spontaneity in, say, when I spend time with my kids.
Planned spontaneity, isn't it?
Yeah, and well, it's an allocated time, but what we do in that time is spontaneous.
Yeah,
right. If that makes sense.
Planned spontaneity.
It's unstructured. What I do with them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to whether it be work or something, relating to me and what I want to achieve, that's when I really get down into the nitty gritty of the detail and become a lot more structured. And I really need that structure to be able to achieve what I see as my ultimate and optimum outcome.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's totally fair. On that note, I think we've reached the end of our allotted time period, Andy Walker, for this week.
Well, for something that we were sort of discussing it a couple of days ago, going, what are we going to chat about this week?
Yeah,
and it seems it seems that even though nothing has really happened when it comes to playing golf, there's still a lot that's going on in our golfing lives. So,
far out! It reminds me of Costanza. It's a show about nothing.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. What? So you mean you went to the shops? So you went to the shops and something happened? No, because that would be something. This show is about nothing.
Yeah.
On that note,
good.
Where can they find us, Andy Walker? Where are the places? If the pilgrims were out there saying, I want to get a hold of you blokes because I've got a fantastic piece of feedback, where could they do it?
Well, I know we've got an email address, which is the missinglinksgolfshow@gmail.com.
.com. We do.
I also know that we've got a Facebook profile.
We do.
And you'll have to tell me what the handle is for Facebook.
Strap yourself in. It's the Missing Links Golf Show.
It's very complex. We're on X. I know we're on X.
Yep. TML Golf Show.
Yep. And we're also on, I was going to say we're also on Twitter. I can't get used to it, man.
I know. No one can. We're on Twitter. Instagram.
Yeah, we're on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think that's just the Missing Links Golf Show, isn't it?
I think it's Missing Links Golf actually on Insta. Because we have two profiles because we both set one up at the same time, but
yeah, right.
We started using one.
So which one did we go with then?
Missing Links Golf is the active one.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
For now. And there's, in exciting news, there's another way that the Pilgrims can contact us because our fantastic podcast platform has added a methodology which what should happen if you go on the episode, just above the show notes, there should be a little link that says send us a text message.
Oh, right.
And you can click on that and it will actually, well, it won't send us a text message. It will send it to our... I was going to say,
it's not linked. Come to me? Or?
It's not linked to your phone. It's on our platform. It goes into a mailbox, which we can then access. Nice. So
nice.
Give it a go. It's actually, it pops up on the dashboard, Andy Walker, as fan mail. So
fan mail.
Fan mail. So that's
should it be Pilgrim mail?
Post from the Pilgrims? I don't know. The voice, maybe just the voice of the Pilgrims. We didn't do a voice of the Pilgrims tonight. We'll do it next episode.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we'll do that next time. There are a few things to share. There's many ways of getting in contact. You know, one other thing that you could always do, Pilgrims, whilst you're listening, if you've come this far, is get on and give us a review. iTunes, Spotify, it doesn't matter where. Give us a review.
Or a rating.
Yeah, a rating and a review. Do both. Click the 5 stars and then write why you clicked 5 stars. Simple. What did you learn? Maybe as part of it, you could wade yourself into the debate around ball striking versus short game. I'd love to hear the views of the Pilgrims on short game versus ball striking.
Yep.
If we can stir that up, that'd be tops. Anyway, that's about it. I think, Andy Walker, have you got any final messages this evening?
No, look, I think we've covered a lot. There's really just one last thing to do.
One little thing. What is it?
Rock out, Pilgrims.
Rock on.